Nobody thought this was humanly possible, but today the federal court rules that the use of the Emergencies Act during the Freedom Convoy was illegal. Let's get into it.
Oh, yeah!
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to The Fringe. Breaking news as a federal court in Ontario has ruled that Justin Trudeau's use of the Emergencies Act has been deemed unconstitutional and illegal. Now, we're going to get into the documents and what, I guess, happened in this situation. But first, let's take a look at this video's sponsor, Straight Goods Clothing. Huge shout out to this video's sponsor, Straight Goods Clothing. Born from a former police officer of 17 years that left his post due to corruption and political cowardice, Straight Goods has gone on to rally thousands across North America in taking a stand against corruption. This clothing is made by high-quality standards and 100% cotton to ensure absolute satisfaction with your purchase. This Canadian-run company also donates 10% of all profits to help and assist with veterans, and that is why Unacceptable Fringe has locked arms to bring our very own line from the company as well. By purchasing, you're not only supporting a local business, but also helping to assist our veterans. Remember, staying silent and doing nothing only allows for the chaos in this country to continue. By putting on something that's bold and peaceful to make a statement is the only way that we can stand up, and what better way to say it than by donning some straight goods, link below in the description. Now, as we get into what went on with the Emergencies Act and the use of the Emergencies Act, it's been a hot button issue. Many people have said from day one that when it came to trampling on protesters with horses, when it came to the arrests made against Freedom Convoy protesters, that the Emergencies Act was really, we all known from day one, thrown out for no reason, that Justin Trudeau merely invoked it to send a message that his boot was stronger than those of the truckers. He wanted to make a statement, and of course, from day one, we've all said this was an illegal statement to make. Now, if we take a look at this article on the federal use of the Emergency Act being unreasonable, it says here, again, I want to make sure all bases are covered. A judge says it was unreasonable for the Liberal government to use the Emergencies Act to quell Freedom Convoy protests in the nation's capital and at key border points 2 years ago. In a decision released today, Federal Court Justice Richard Mosley says the invocation of the act led to the infringement of constitutional rights. Finally, a judge who stands on the side of the law. The Canadian Civil Liberties Association and several other groups of individuals had argued in court that Ottawa ushered in the emergency measures without sound statutory grounds. The government contended the steps taken to deal with the pan-Canadian turmoil was targeted, proportional, time-limited, and complaint with the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Public Order Emergency Commission, which carries out mandatory review after invocation of the Emergencies Act, found the government met the very high legal standard for using the law. Mosley says he revisited the events with the benefit of hindsight and a more extensive record of the facts and the law than the government had when it invoked the act. Now, if we take a look at, again, the mass release of information on Twitter, again, everybody's talking about this. Jason Levine, good friend of the channel here, saying, breaking, federal judge Mosley ruled that the Canadian government's decision to invoke the Emergencies Act was unreasonable and some orders unjustifiably violated the Charter of Rights of Freedoms. Now, of course, we have the one page that I wanted to get onto here, but he has it highlighted as he's also displayed the pages of the court documents down here. But here, point 4 of the order states that it is declared the decision to issue the proclamation and associated regulations and order was unreasonable and ultra-vires the Emergency Act. It is declared that the regulations infringed Section 2, B of the Charter and declared that the order infringed Section Section 8 of the Charter and that neither infringement was justified under Section 1. The applicants, Edward Cornell and Vincent Gerkries, are awarded costs of the hearing, full decision attached. So essentially what this is saying, and what we're taking from this, is the Emergencies Act by a federal judge has been ruled as illegal. They couldn't use it. Justin Trudeau had no rights to invoke the Emergency Act. And again, they were awarded costs of the hearing, therefore making it justified that those who were complaining were in the right. This sets a huge precedent, a massive one. When we look at what's happened with Tamara Leach, Chris Barber, The ongoing provincial court case that's coming up for, I believe it was $400 million through people like Zexi Lee. When we look at Tamara Leach's imprisonment, the rules and stipulations that have been put against her, that have been put against Chris Barber, the ongoing delay after delay after delay of their court hearings. It's interesting to mention with Tamara's court case, I've said from the beginning, in fact, I had the pleasure of sitting with Tamara the previous evening and talking about some of her stipulations that I was even unaware of. That, for instance, she's not even allowed to move. She's not allowed to relocate or find new residence if she so chooses to, which for all the people who have released conspiracy theories that Tamara has taken money and bought properties in Quebec or other places, she's not allowed to. Even if she had the chance. So Tamara's kind of stuck where she is. She can't move on with her life. She was just recently allowed back onto the internet. Chris Barber's had a number of inconvenient and business-altering regulations put against him and his trucking company, which of course have made running his company a difficult task. But then we get to the grand premise of it all, which is the Coots 4. While that was a provincial arrest, but it was based on the use of the Emergencies Act. And at this point, when you look at the drawn-out court cases of Tamara and Chris Barber, I've said from day one, and I said it again last night with Tamara, that if they had a case, it wouldn't have been delayed. It wouldn't have been pushed. This was a court case that was supposed to be over in October at the latest of last year, and it's being pushed now to March. And there's rumor going around that this could be drawn out as long as 2025. Of course, right around the time that Justin Trudeau is supposed to be leaving office, because rather than say, hey, we made a mistake, or hey, we don't have anything to hold you on, they want to make Tamara's and Chris's lives as difficult as possible and as inconvenient as possible. They went to the steps of the government and thoroughly embarrassed them. That's what this is. It's a statement of, you messed around with us, now we're going to put our boot on your neck. The Coots 4, all charges at this point should be dropped. And all of these individuals should sue the ever-living daylights out of the government, in my opinion. This ruling is huge. I think that it's a huge step forward. It's a huge W for the freedom community, for anybody who stood up against the government during the Freedom Convoy, who believed that coercion or forced mandates on people was illegal, I'm almost speechless trying to report on this. I'm trying to put words together to make this video sound a little more just, but to be honest, people, I didn't expect this day was going to come from a judge. I didn't think that any judge would ever rule in favor that the Emergencies Act was deemed as illegal, or, as they say, well, what was the exact words? Unreasonable. In that sense, this begs the question of what is going to happen to Justin Trudeau. Of course, many people, and I'm sure the comments are already filling up with people saying nothing is going to happen. This is a huge violation of Canadian rights. A threshold does need to be met in order for the Emergencies Act, and if federal judges are now saying that, hey, I've taken the time to step back, to look at the facts, to look at everything that was there, part of what worries me is that it says that when they went back to look, that they've realized that, what was it the article said here? They found the government met the high legal standards for, he says he revisited the events and the benefit of hindsight and more extensive record for the facts of the law than the government had when it invoked the act. So he's basically saying that he went back and looked at it, took a second look with clearer eyes and less tension. So that makes me wonder again, is the government going to use that to skate and say, well, we were under tremendous pressure. We didn't know what else to do. It's going to be interesting to see what comes, but let me know down below in the comments what you guys think. Should all these charges be dropped? Should the court cases be let go? I, for one, would love to see the money come out of hold and for it to be dispersed finally to the truckers that stood in Ottawa, that made their statements. If that money were to be taken out of escrow, that would be fantastic. Again, that's the people's money. It's not the government's. It would be great to see the provincial case dropped at this point because, again, there's no grounds for people like Zexi Lee to come against the Freedom Convoy with the likes of Paul Champ. And I'm sorry. I put these videos together a lot better, but with this breaking news, I wanted to get out here as quick as possible so that people knew what was going on. And I'm utterly speechless. I'm speechless and so happy for Chris, for Tamara, for the Coots Four, and for everybody who's being prosecuted based on the use of the Emergencies Act following the Freedom Convoy. That this is essentially their ticket out, hopefully, and at least a very strong arguing point towards the charges at this point. So again, it's going to be very interesting to see what comes. I think in terms of the government, you should jail them all, lock them up, each and every one of them. But again, let me know down below in the comments what you guys think. If it's your first time here, I hope this very sloppy video earned your subscription. Make sure as you're hitting that subscribe button down below, you click your bell for notifications and join us here on the channel live every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time for our weekly wrap, where we go live and talk about everything that's happened in the past week, everything coming up in the week ahead. I can assure you this will be a major discussion in this week's stream. But you want to turn on your bell for notifications, because sometimes I'll be going live at the at the behest of a whim. I will be having Tamara here in my game room / studio in the very near future to sit down and have an interview and a discussion and a talk, and maybe make some announcements as to where she's headed next. But we'll see about that one, and also maybe some pop-up streams to kind of get information like this out and have a discussion. So turn on your bell for notifications. Join us every time we go live. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll catch you on the next one.